I felt I was a failure as far as my marriage was concerned, and I felt I was a failure as far as my cancer was concerned, because I wasn't able to keep it off way. I was having problems with my husband, but he was having problems too. How come he didn't get cancer? I got it. So how is it that I didn't actually know how to take care of myself? But honestly, at that time, I wasn't even thinking of all these things. I mean, I didn't have knowledge of what I was doing to myself. And by that, I mean my body. I didn't know the effects that this kind of thoughts, this kind of stress was having on my body. So that's very important, you know. I had some really obvious things, like there was my nipple was, you know, when you have an upright nipple, it's actually a sign of breast cancer.
So I would assume that if it's not normal, like if that's not how it's normally been all this while, when you see those kinds of changes.
Seriously, that's not normal, yes. But because at that time, my whole my mind was preoccupied with how am I going to make myself independent. I knew I'm going to be divorced soon. I knew that, you know, I was so concerned about, you know, being able to take care of my financial part of, you know, since I came from a background where I had a beautiful house, I had beautiful everything, you know, I really was worried about that part. So many other things I just let go. The self-care part, I wasn't caring for myself. And I can totally admit to that now. I'm not in denial anymore, you know. I didn't do enough for myself. I know that.
Yeah, so I think that's where maybe part of the challenge is as well, right? Like that sense of balancing the part that it's not entirely preventable, but there are things that you can do to take better care of your health, manage your stress.
Yeah, there are definitely things you can do where you would be in a position if you, I mean, when people ask me that, you know, did you not know that, how come you let it get to stage 3? You know, you could have stopped it at stage 1 if you had just get it checked. So I told them the truth. I said, it wasn't even in my thoughts. My only thought was, how am I going to make myself independent so that I can take care of myself? Okay.
Yeah, and focusing on what's in front of you.
A big burden as far as I was concerned.
Yeah, because I think no one expects to get cancer, right? So it's not like I am letting this get to this stage because I'm expecting it. It comes as a surprise, I think, regardless of whichever stage you catch it at.
What you're doing, you never think that you are going to get it, because you always think, oh, that happens to other people. Doesn't happen to me, you know? So.
Wow. Well, thank you, Geeta, for joining us today on HE Network. And October is Breast Cancer Awareness Month. And so we are having this series of conversations with people sharing their stories of breast cancer, as well as various health and wellness specialists who work with women in this area of breast cancer and health. And so this is part of our campaign as HE Network to raise awareness of breast cancer and also to raise funds for our beneficiary, Breast Cancer Foundation. So thank you very much, Geeta, for joining us this afternoon. My name is Laura. I am the founder of HE Network, Strength, Happiness, and Empowerment. And HE Network is a community of women that exists to support each other to discover and to live out our strengths and to be able to make an impact in the world. So thank you, Geeta. Let me just introduce you a little bit and share a little bit of who you are. And then we can continue this very interesting conversation and yeah, just your incredible story and, you know, the before, the during, and the after of your own journey with breast cancer. So Geeta Lachmandas is a well-known personality in the cooking and wellness arena in Singapore and Kuala Lumpur. Previously the owner of Culinary Capers Malaysia, a Malaysian healthy food delivery company which started in 2005 as a cooking school offering classes in many eclectic Cuisines. Geeta ventured into the culinary health and wellness arena in 2012 after she was able to bring down her own weight following a regime of clean eating. In 2014, she took the bold step of opening up a commercial kitchen in Kuala Lumpur, supplying great healthy food. And after a successful first year of running this business, in June 2015, after a routine mammogram, Geeta was diagnosed with stage 3 breast cancer, which required immediate surgery. Unfortunately, it was also at this time that her 27-year marriage came to an end, and that caused her even more distress and pain. But with no hesitation or fear, Geeta made a firm decision to close her kitchen indefinitely, to concentrate on thoroughly healing herself physically, emotionally, and spiritually. Today, Geeta is the owner of a health and wellness business called Vibrant Living with Geeta. Vibrant Living Foods is about empowering people to regain or to better their physical health by educating them through Zoom cooking classes and nutrition talks about real foods, clean cooking, and optimal nutrition. In addition to coaching, Geeta is also an avid and passionate public speaker who has delivered talks on motivation, personal development, nutrition, wellness, as well as mindfulness and meditation. Geeta is passionate about connecting with people, and so bringing people, ideas, and inspiration together is what makes the world for her a better place to live. As Oprah Winfrey once said, your journey begins with a choice to get up, step out, and live fully. So Geeta, thank you so much for joining us today to share your story. And we've already begun to hear a little bit about what that must have been like. So maybe let's jump into June 2015, where your journey began with breast cancer. So you said you had all these things going on. Tell us, what was that like for you?
Okay, so very nice to be with you, Laura. And I was diagnosed with stage 3 breast cancer in 2015 June. And I had just gone for a routine mammogram, okay? And honestly, normally they encourage us to go for these checks every year, right? But for 3 years, I hadn't gone because I was so busy at that time trying to create my healthy food delivery business. And because I was going through so much in my marriage, because I knew that, you know, that it could fold up at any time. So I figured that my concentration was just to create a business which could help me to live properly the way that I was used to. And I had a great life before that. So I was really, really concerned about that. So I didn't even think about going for a mammogram, you know, I didn't think that it would be anything there at all. So after I was diagnosed, right, I realized that I had not been taking care of myself. And the main thing that happened was when the surgeon saw me, all right, they asked me to go for a biopsy, and I went for it. I wasn't really scared at that time because I thought, well, maybe I had some sort of cyst or something like that. But the biopsy proved to be positive. And then the surgeon told me, okay, now you've got to make a decision. We suggest that you actually take out the full breast because you're at stage 3. So what they were suggesting was a mastectomy and not a lumpectomy. And I was quite prepared to do that, okay? And it was only the right breast. Some of them, the doctor had suggested that we do both breasts at the same time, but I said, no, I prefer to just take off one breast because there's no reason to do that. Okay, so anyway, I decided the reason why, so I was diagnosed in Malaysia, in Kuala Lumpur, but I decided to also do a second opinion in Singapore because my insurance agent told me that everything would be covered in Singapore as well. The kind, I did have an insurance policy in Singapore, thank God, okay? which my uh, husband had taken out for me. And this was a time when I realized that, wow, this was something that good that had happened, because it really, really helped me. So I went back to Singapore immediately after I was diagnosed, because my agent told me, come down, don't do anything in Kuala Lumpur. See, the surgeon in Kuala Lumpur told me that my existing insurance policy in Malaysia only covered the actual breast surgery, but did not cover the reconstruction. Now, there are many women, and this I didn't know, okay? I only found this out later, but there are many women who, after surgery, don't do anything about their breasts. So they leave it. But I said, no, I'm definitely wanting to do a breast reconstruction, and that would have cost me in Malaysia extra $20,000. So when I checked with my agent in Singapore, she said that you're covered for everything. So just come down. So I immediately went down, and in fact, within a week of going down, I already went in for surgery. That's how fast they, worked.
Yeah, that must have been a huge relief, because I imagine in the midst of everything that's going on, you suddenly get this diagnosis you need to deal with, and then
No, and
you're
it's
like
issues
financially.
you have to make so many decisions about, and that actually was quite a big thing for me. Luckily, I had my family in Singapore who were very, very, very supportive. And the one thing that I know is that when you are diagnosed with something like that, and you don't have a husband who is there for you to confer with and all that, it was a big thing, and I felt very relieved that my family was there for me to be able to discuss what should we do, which option should we take and things like that. But in any case, we decided to go with the full mastectomy, and also to do the reconstruction. And in Singapore, I was being seen to at the Mount Elizabeth Hospital, and they also had a doctor who actually did for me the breast reconstruction. Okay, and the beautiful part about it was that he looked at me and he said, actually, you've got a lot of fat in your tummy. So we can actually take the fat from there and use it to do the breast reconstruction. And I looked at him and I said, really, I'm going to have a new body, that means. And he said, yeah. And I'll never forget that, because my daughters were with me. One of my daughters was with me, and she looked at me and she said, Mom, don't joke about things like this. And the doctor told her, no, she should, it's fine. Let her, at least she's in a good space, let her joke about it. And I told her, I said, come on, if you're getting a new body because of this, wouldn't you be happy? They also did, for my left breast, they also did a breast uplift. And really, it was like having a body job done straight away. So
Makeover.
Yes, a lovely makeover for your body.
I recently heard someone say the times are too serious for us to lose our sense of humor. And I think sometimes in moments like that, I think it does help to just look at it from a different perspective and find the gold and find the good even in the midst of some of those.
When you actually do that, what happens is that when you actually do that, what happens is that you don't look at it so seriously. You don't want to take life so seriously. That's always been the way that I look at things. I laugh. I try and laugh about everything that happens, and that really does help. And the really interesting part about everything that happened to me sequence wise was that when my insurance agent told me to come down, I had no idea what kind of policy I had. What did it cover? Nothing. I didn't know. All I knew was that, okay, I've got to go down to Singapore and do this surgery. And it was only at that time that she told me that under I had a prudential policy, and under the prudential, the rules of that policy was that any person who is diagnosed with cancer is actually diagnosed with a critical illness. So you come under that critical illness category. And once you have critical illness, you actually become, they give you a certain amount of money, which was quite a large sum in Sing dollars. So I suddenly realized, oh my God, I've got suddenly a heap of money that has been given to me, which I didn't have before. And you know how worried I was about my financial situation and everything. And honestly, at that time, the first thing that came to my mind was, God is looking after me. The universe is looking after me. I had never felt so blessed and so much gratitude that, well, supposedly this is not something that is great to happen to anyone, right? I mean, you got cancer. But I knew deep down inside, intuitively, I knew that God, the universe, or whoever is looking after you knows that you can look after, you can deal with it, with this situation. And that's why I was given cancer, because it was the only way that I could get some money for myself.
So, I mean, that's quite a, in a sense, a dramatic turnaround. It's like there's this tension of there's this crazy diagnosis that you have, and then suddenly you have the money that you need in order to actually face it. So what would you say was the biggest challenge in this journey? So you have all these things going on at the same time.
Well, I think the biggest challenge was dealing with all the different emotions. All right. So there were so many emotions that this cancer brought out with it. You know, I mean, you would feel sad, you would feel depressed, plus, and then there was the joy of this happening. So I didn't know how to deal with it, you know. I in the beginning, but after that, I think that I suddenly realized that to take it one day at a time, one step at a time, okay, and whatever happens, just be grateful. And you know, because you can't think too much about these kind of things forward as well, you know. But I realized that I really felt that I was being looked after. I remember that feeling very strongly, that I shouldn't worry about anything because, you know, God was behind me, and literally the universe had my back.
That's so powerful. I mean, just from my own experience with journeying with someone with cancer, I understand a lot of the journey and a lot of the battle is also just emotionally, psychologically as well. It's the physical part, but there's also this emotional part. And going through that and seeing my mom going through that journey as well, and seeing that she has that same sense of, you know, I'm being looked after, things are going to be okay. And I think that's finding part, I guess, of that strength, that inner strength, and kind of tapping into the resources that you have both within you and outside of you. So maybe could you share a little bit about maybe some of the support systems that you had, the people that maybe came around you and journeyed with you through that? Are there any particular people or instances that you'd like to share that stand out for you?
Well, to be quite honest with you, you know, even though I was going through all this with my husband, I had an ex-boyfriend who was I was with 20 years ago when I was in university, and he and I parted ways after I met my husband. But it just so happened he came back into my life, you know, in the way that he heard about my cancer and wanted to help me. And really, you know, my experience in everything now, until now, is that God will send people whom you need at that time to help you. And when I was going through cancer, I really needed just to be with people who were supportive and who understood what I was going through. Okay. And I felt that really he had been sent at that time to just help me. And he was the one who helped me through going for my appointments and going for my doctor's appointments. And he was a real pillar at that time. So I thank God for that. We are not together now or anything, but he's still a very, very good friend who helped me in many ways. Now, I don't talk about this a lot, but it is the truth. And I'm not ashamed to say that, he did help me a lot. Also, my family, of course, were there all the time, to help. And I have to thank my sister as well, my younger sister, who opened up her house for me. So I was staying with my sister, and this was for more than a year, because after that I had to do chemotherapy as well. You see, in the beginning, when I was diagnosed, I thought that, okay, I would just do the surgery and it's just a glitch, and after that I'm done. But that was not the case, because when the oncologist, when the doctors opened me up, they realized that I had 12 lymph nodes that were affected. Now that's a lot. Even I didn't know that, okay? But the doctor said, we can't just let you go back to your life. You have to do chemotherapy. So I had to do a 6 months of chemotherapy and another month of radiotherapy. So I was so devastated by that when I heard that. But the oncologist told me, you'll be fine. You've got such a great attitude. You will be fine. You'll do well. And after that, you'll be fine. Because this will take away the risk of the cancer metastasizing to other parts of your body. Once the lymph nodes are affected, it's easy for them to affect other parts of your body. So I agreed to it. I did all that. And, because you're doing chemotherapy, there's a lot of things that happen. You lose your hair. Your appetite becomes so screwed up because, you can't taste things. And you have a lot of ulcers in your mouth. Those were all the things the bad parts. But, I've stopped thinking about that completely. I mean, you forget about all these things. Some people don't, but I do, okay? I wanted to focus on the parts which were good. And what are the beautiful things that came out of that whole experience of doing chemotherapy and was that, I made so many good friends at the cancer center, at the Mount Elizabeth Cancer Center. And I became like a counselor for many of them. I would go and talk to them. I started giving cooking classes. My oncologist was a very nice guy. He knew that I would be willing to do these kind of things. And he knew that I was a good chef, a good cook. So he said, would you like to give classes to all these cancer survivors? I said, yeah, sure, why not? So they organized that for me to be able to do that. And we had a very good turnout of about 60 people at a beautiful school, a cooking school in Singapore. Then the second thing which I did, which I volunteered for, was to teach the women how to tie scarves. Because I used to come to the cancer center every day in a new scarf, on my head, and with loads of makeup and everything. I just refused to let anything get me down. And actually, I was quite happy doing all that, okay? And so I created a class called Knots for Hope. And it was very well attended as well. And those were the things that really made me happy, because I could really see that the women felt very upset that they didn't have their hair and all that. Honestly, I didn't feel that. I used to go around with bald and feel comfortable. In fact, it made me realize that I actually had a nice shape of, my head was nicely shaped. In the beginning, I used to think, oh, how would I look without any hair? But strangely enough, I even did a photo shoot, because one of the people who came to Mount Elizabeth, his wife had also cancer, and he looked at me and he said, I want to do a photo shoot with you. You've got nice head, and you'll be fabulous in that. So I thought, wow, that's very, that was great.
So that's so beautiful.
All the fun parts. You know, these are the parts which made me realize that it's not such a big thing, you know. And really, you know, I lost my fetish about not having hair or anything like that because I felt good. I felt good about myself with or without hair. So
Mm.
I think that these are the kind of things which really boost your confidence and make you feel that there's things that are more important than that. And I felt, and this is something which I think also was important to me, was I suddenly felt more responsible for all these women. I suddenly felt that I wanted to give more to them. You know, prior to that, I was actually a very selfish person. I only was thinking of myself. I always used to think of, you know, what I was going through, you know. But I guess because at that time I was trying so hard to build up this business and all, I never really thought about other people. But it was at this stage that I think that I started feeling more for the other women, and because I was strong, you know, I'm a strong person, I know that. And I felt many of them just didn't know how to hack it, didn't know how to feel about all these feelings that they were going through. And it was at that time that I suddenly started to realize that, you know what, I could be a good coach. I think that I would be able to understand and be able to inspire them not to feel that way.
Well, yeah, that's incredible. It sounds like you learned a lot about yourself just throughout this entire experience. So it sounds like one was almost learning to look outside of yourself. And I think, again, that sense of community, that sense of, I think when you have this kind of diagnosis of breast cancer, that it's not just you who's affected, like your family,
About
the friends, the community around you.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And I think that that has actually signaled my journey, you know, because now I've realized that this is what I want to do. I want to be able to help other women. And many women have told me that when they are in my presence, they feel inspired. And I feel that, yeah, maybe that is my role because, you know, I don't take these kind of things too seriously. I have a good attitude towards life as far as these kind of things are concerned, and I'm positive. I mean, that's a very general word, but generally after uh, I did a lot of personal development courses. Okay, this was during the time when I was very unhappy during my marriage. The first thing I did was actually go for many of these kind of courses. And you know, these courses teach you how to look at life, how to change your mindset about life. And I think that foundation helped me a lot, even during the cancer, because you stop thinking about what can go wrong and all the what ifs, what if this, what if that. You don't go to that place at all. You go to the place of thinking, always thinking that it's going to be fine. The universe has my back, and my affirmation has always been that everything is always working out for me. I've never forgotten that, and every single day I say that to myself.
That's amazing. So would you say that this strength of turning situations around and looking at it from a different perspective, so was that something that you learned along the way, or is it something that you've always had in your life? So, because I know sometimes people think, oh, you know, this is just who I am, I can't change. But it sounds like there are things that you can actually learn and develop, and
I
ways
was
of
not
thinking.
that person. Seriously, before my cancer, before the first years of my marriage, I was a negative person who always looked at the downside of things, who was worrying so much about everything, who didn't believe, you know, that about that the universe is, I didn't even know about the universe at that time. All these concepts only came in after I started my personal development courses and started to, and because my whole mindset changed, I suddenly realized that the way that I was looking at things was not the way things were. And the reason why all the things had happened to me was because of my own mindset, right? You know, whatever happens on the outside is what you're creating because of your thoughts. So I realized that I have to change my thoughts. And if I change my thoughts, then the whole sequence would change. Everything would change. And it did. See, once I was understanding that it was my mindset that was the problem, then when I changed my mindset, things change. Wayne Dyer used to say that so much, right? When you change the way you look at things, the things themselves will change. And I saw that in my own life. I saw that so clearly at that time.
So it sounds like you've been almost on a journey of happiness. So when you think about your happiness, maybe like before, during, and after this experience, could you tell us a little bit more about like what's changed for you over this time?
I can tell you that when I was newly married and just sort of going through, the relationship with my husband and all that, I was not a happy person. I was a very unhappy person, always dissatisfied with everything, unhappy about him. And not only that, I was taking out my anger on so many other people, my children, my maids, and I wasn't a very nice person at that time because of all these things, because of my own unhappiness. So when I contracted cancer, I think that it improved. If I was to say, okay, it would be maybe less than 3 or 2, in the first couple of years before cancer. After cancer, it went up to 5 or 6 because I actually was happy during that time. I was happy because I was doing the things that made me happy, and the cancer for me was not such a big deal. I mean, I didn't have all the issues that many other women have of throwing up and all that. I actually went through it. I breezed through it. I would say I breezed through it and had many other new doors opening up, like all this doing my Knots for Hopes and doing my, cooking classes with the cancer survivors. So all those were events which really made me happy, because I was helping people at the same time. So, and after that, okay, so after 2016 and 17, when I came back to KL, I think that everything has become even better. I'm even happier now because I've come to understand that happiness does not come from other people, it comes from within. And it's a choice, and you can choose to be happy. So the more I am with myself, and I have a beautiful apartment now, you can see parts of it, and I really feel that I have a good support system with good friends. All my friends are not the friends I had from before. Everybody is different because these are the people now that I can relate to. But I really feel that now I am living my best life. And that's why I created my the website, the new website, to be able to do more coaching and to be able to tell people that, you can do this at any age. You don't have to be young, I feel that I'm going to be 60, but I don't feel a day over 20. And I have the energy of someone who is 20.
Yes, absolutely. So yeah, you sound like an empowered woman, just through this journey and just through the unexpected things that happened, and as life unfolded, it sounds like you've grown and developed and discovered new things and found new gifts along the way. That it sounds like you're in a much almost happier way. It sounds paradoxical,
I am
but it sounds like
in my life right now. I can tell you that without having to say anything, be frank. I'm happiest now. I'm much happier now than I ever was being married and being in the first couple of years. Of course, I love my children and all these kind of stuff, but I have found more happiness now in everything that happened. So, of course, that is why I can all say that whatever lessons we are meant to learn in life, we will learn, and then we just have to understand that they were there for us to learn a few things. The other thing that I think is crucial is that many women, when they are diagnosed, they ask the question, why me? And I've seen that in many of the women that I talk to at the Mount Elizabeth Cancer Center. I don't think I ever asked that question, because I realized after I did all these personal development courses that that's not the right question to ask. The right question to ask is, what did I learn from this? What was I meant to learn? And what did I learn? And how can I take it further by this not happening again? You know? So that way also, there were many aha moments about how I should take care of myself. Sometimes I realized also that all this time, I had not been loving myself, that I didn't know how to do that. And it's only when you learn how to love yourself and care for yourself radically and everything that things change, right? When you love yourself, then you can love other people. Otherwise, you can't do it.
That's such a powerful tip. I think, as you said, the questions we ask ourselves actually shape the answers and the experiences that that we end up having, right? So maybe could you share some other tips with our beautiful she's out there on being a strong and happy woman?
Wow, strong and happy women. Well, I think that I've covered almost everything. You know, all the things that I actually. Let me see. Okay, I think the important thing was that I have evolved a lot. You know, and all the things that, for example, that would have heckled me those days don't heckle me anymore. I've definitely become less, I'm not a perfectionist anymore, which I love, you know, because I used to be such a terrible perfectionist and I would make life so difficult for everyone around me. So today, you know, I'm much more easygoing. I am able to let go. And I think that's a very big lesson that a lot of us learn. I've accepted a lot of things. I accept a lot of things, and you know, you don't sort of resist a lot of things as well. You know, when you create resistance in your life, there's always a lot of you're not peaceful. I can honestly say that today I'm a much more peaceful person. I've learned so much, and always asking the questions, okay, what am I supposed to learn from this? You know, what is, why am I going through this? And okay, what am I supposed to learn? Is it something that I have not learned, or is it something that I need to learn? Okay, so I think that I did a lot of journaling, you know, during the time when I was taking all these courses, plus also after that, right? After my cancer, during that time when I was in Singapore, I used to do a lot of journaling, more about what I was feeling and what are the things that I'm learning. So when you compare some of these notes that you have, you will always see that each time you do it, you have a different response. You know, it's never the same, because the learning is different, right? So when you evolve, you think about a situation which happened previously and now differently. You will not think about it in the same way. And that's when you know that you have evolved, that you have grown. Okay, and
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I think there's just so much richness and goodness. Just enjoying, I think, just your energy, your vibrance, even as you're sharing, and just that sense of just being full of life and joy. Just really appreciate you sharing. And again, thank you again, because our goal really is to raise awareness of breast cancer. And we're also raising funds this October for Breast Cancer Foundation. So yes, so I would just like to invite anyone watching. We have a campaign on giving.sg. So if you go over and find She Network, so giving.sg/campaigns/She Network BCF. So that's our fundraiser for Breast Cancer Foundation. So thank you so much, Geeta. I wonder if there's any parting words you'd like to say as we end this conversation. Thank you so much for everything you've shared.
So just want to tell everybody that you can be strong and happy if you just learn to let go, all right? Don't feel things too much. Learn to forgive. I think that's a very important thing, because many people, when you hold a lot of feelings in your heart, that doesn't help for you to be in peace mode. So learn to forgive as well. And the important thing is to look for beauty in everything that is surrounding you. Okay, we don't, sometimes we think, okay, we don't think about these things in a way that is, there's beauty in everything that is just in us, or around us already. But we need to really, this is where again it's a mindset. So when you can change that mindset, I think that now I qualify pretty well to become a mindset coach, because I know how to, tell people how you have to change your mindset, because I really did that for myself. And today I understand the power of that, how much power that holds. When you can change your mindset, you can change everything.
Absolutely. Thank you. And always learning from experience, right? It's, you've walked the journey, you've talked the talk, and we're just so blessed to have you with us. Thank you so much for sharing, Geeta. Have a wonderful day, and we'll end with our Wonder Woman pose. Thank you.
Okay.